Let me start recording. Thanks everyone joining. This is our first learning lab session in Toastmaster year 2026. And this is the second hour of the first learning lab session. And our speaker is Angel Larena. Angel is a DTM, and Angel actually fourth DTM Angel has completed, fourth one, and Angel is a District 100 director. It is my pleasure to introduce Angel Larena. Angel is going to talk about today Basecamp overview and management. Angel, floor is yours.
Thank you. So, as I get started, there's a couple of things I'd like to tell everyone. Number one, I'm not the expert and I don't know everything. And I'll admit that very early on. However, if there's something I don't know, or if you're running across something after we talk or when you're offline, and you need help with something, send me an email because normally I'll know who to contact, or I know who in Toastmasters International to contact to find out stuff for you. The second thing is if you have questions or anything like that, I kind of take those after I get through the main part of the presentation. You can put them in the chat. The chat is very useful. If you don't know where that is, it's at the bottom. If you're on a computer, it's at the bottom of your screen. There's a little chat bubble. It says chat. Click that. Utilize it. It's a great way to interact as well. And I'm very technologically savvy, so I will be able to look at that as needed. But if you put your question there, you don't have to worry about forgetting it, and I will get to that first and then answer live questions. Basically, for today, for Basecamp overview and kind of the management and things like that, I'm not necessarily going to go into as much detail from a member perspective. I'm going to give you it from the other side as a club officer, or if you're going back to your club and teaching your officers how to do it, you could do that as well. The membership side, if I was to do that, it would take a whole hour or two, primarily just to show you kind of how to get them in. The other thing I'm going to say is that if you have people who are adverse to this, to Basecamp, to Pathways, think outside the box and find ways to get them in. Sometimes people struggle with the technology, sometimes they struggle with many different things. And so if they're worrying about that, try to find ways around that. For one instance, if it's like someone who can't like struggles with technology, can't log in, things like that, well then if they're comfortable, have them share their login with you. You can help log them in, get them involved and get their stuff done for them. Of course, ethically with their permission, things like that. You can also go into Basecamp and print out projects for people if they're more paper and they really don't know how to do that. You can print their projects out for them and give it to them and have them work that way. But those are just a few tips. Oh, Umanga, I need to be co-host, please. Can't share a screen without it. So before I get started on this and while Umanga's doing that, I'm going to share a link with you. I want you to please bookmark this in your browser and have your members do the same whenever you go back to your club. With the new updates, you can actually bookmark this link. It'll take you to the same place every time, and you can log in with your international credentials. And you don't have to go through the TI website to access this, Basecamp, Pathways, any of it. You can go directly to this link every time. You'll log in, it'll be there. Okay. One other quick warning before we get started. As much as we all love to debate pathways and international decisions, this is not the place for that today. So if you have questions about international decisions, please talk to me after or email it to me and I can forward that to TI or you can email them directly. I'm not on the board. I don't know why they make the decisions they make, and just asking me, it's going to confuse us both. So if you have questions about decisions being made, you can email me or you can email TI and ask them so that they can explain it better. So when you log into this site, the first thing you're going to see is, of course, welcome to Basecamp. These are all your paths, anything open that you're working on. So once a member goes into here, submits a level, there's the other side of things. What do you do? How are you going to get to know? So hold on, moving this out my way. And I'll put this over a little. Okay. So on your profile, you can actually set like how you can look at achievements, you can look at your introductions and all of that. And you can look at this. There are but I'm going to show you how to get there the other way. Hold on. So when you log into here, this is what you see as a member. If you are a club officer in any club, or more than one, you will have a link right here called Basecamp Manager, and this is where you go. Now, with the new system update, everything's all in one place. There's no longer, I have to go into each club, do each thing. Everything kind of goes onto the same kind of platform. And as you can see, whenever you get something, normally it'll say approve it or respond. You can just click that if you're the VPE or if you're designated by someone in your club to do that, or if your club just lets any officer approve it, you go in, you can approve it, it'll apply to the club. You do not have to go in anymore to Club Central and put the credit in there. This is the only place you need to go. Whenever a member submits a level, they will select the club that they're submitting it for, and I will show you the level submission process of the member side in a moment. I just wanted to get through the manager part. Basically, though, after this is done, you can filter, all of that. But in every club, you can see exactly who approved what. So, for instance, Bruce, if you're the VPE and you're like, well, I didn't approve that, so who approved it? You can come in and look who approved it and just double check. Remember that VPEs, presidents, things like that, you cannot approve your own requests. So any officer can now come in and approve that. You don't have to rely on exactly one person to do it all the time. But this is where all your approvals will be. Any requests you have will come here. Any of your approvals will come here. The other good thing to note is member overview. You can select the club. If you're in more than one club, it'll, pull up your clubs. It'll tell you exactly where everyone is at, kind of their last speech, what they've done, how many things they're working on, or how many paths they've completed. As you can tell, I'm a little bit crazy. Uh, so yeah, it'll give you the overview of your members for each club. Paths in progress. So if you wanted to see what people are working on, and it's irrespective of club, you can pull up a club, and once this loads, it'll show us. Basically, paths in progress will show you exactly what they've completed, where they are on their path, and what they need to do next. So if you see, I'm gonna pick on myself. So if you can see, I have three different paths open right now, and you can see exactly what I've completed entirely in each level. You can also see, like in level 1 of motivation strategies, I've done one of the 5 projects so far. So this can help you talk to your members, plan out how they're going to give their speeches, things like that. Then another thing I'm going to recommend while I'm thinking about it right here is if you get a new member, get them through level 1 within the first 3 to 4 months. Level 1 is your easiest level. It's normally the one where you kind of get used to talking in front of people. So try to get them through that within 3 to 4 months, because normally if you can get them through level 1, they will tend to stay longer because they're going to see the growth. The other thing I recommend to all clubs is record the first speech and then a speech 4 to 6 months after. And show the member alone, if they want, side by side, their progress. Because it looks way different after 6 months. And then you could see club activity in the last 60 days. Whatever has been done, you can see all of that. Um, so let's go back here really quick. Oh, and by the way, if you're ever in Basecamp Manager and need to get back to the main dashboard as a member, you can go to here to Learning Dashboard. If you need to get back to Basecamp Manager, it's right there. So both of them are right there. If that's a member side. Okay. So if you're in a path, let's just go into here, see where I'm at. I'm not going to submit it. I'm just going to show you kind of the progress of how you do it. So if you're on the completion side of things, once you've completed all of your projects and you've done your two or three electives or however many, you can come into the completion side, and this is what a member will see. Every single level of completion will be like this, and it'll only allow them to submit once they've completed their other stuff. You got to select your club if you're in more than one club. So this is very important for your member because if you're in two or more clubs, and let's say I'm submitting level 4 for one club and level 5 for another, when I come into here, I need to make sure I select the right club because this level completion will go to whatever club I select for it. And I can select different clubs for each level. So I would select the club, I'd hit submit and send my level completion. So that's how you do a level completion. Yeah, Basecamp Manager is pretty simple now. So as someone who is either more adept with pathways or doesn't know pathways, it's our job to teach other people how to do it. Not because it's our job per se. I say it's our job for a different reason. Remember when you first joined, when I first joined, everything kind of was new. Even if you're tech savvy, everything is new to you. You don't really know how to work everything. And if no one would have showed us how to do it, we probably wouldn't be where we are, right? We probably wouldn't have the knowledge we have already. And so if we teach other people, then they're able to progress and move forward. I always like to think of it that way. Whenever you're recruiting a member, whenever you're getting them in pathways and you're asking yourself, why do I have to care about them completing a level? Ask yourself, like, are we helping other people to achieve their goals and grow as well? Because sometimes we get lost in that. We get lost in the, well, TI told us to do it, or it's part of the DCP, so we have to be distinguished. I say remind yourself that, think about the progress you've made in the time you've been here and relay that to others. Because if no one would have tried to get a member, if no one would have invited you, or if no one would have built a club in your company or built a club somewhere else, you wouldn't be where you are today. Okay. That's Basecamp as a Basecamp manager, and it's very fast. However, what I'm going to do now is if you have questions about Basecamp manager, I'll take those first. And then if you have any questions about Pathways Basecamp stuff, I'll take those second. There we go. That way I can just help you with anything you have for Pathways, and you can go back to your club and help them as well. Okay. Does anyone have questions about the manager side of it? Yeah, it's
Actually,
pretty
Angel,
simple.
it is not a
Huh.
question. I'm very happy that today any club officer can approve it, right? That is a good point.
Oh, so what's funny is it's been that way.
No, few
Yes.
years ago, it was only secretary or
Okay.
very beginning secretary and VPE and president. After that, they removed secretary and VPE and president. After
So
that, only access, three officers had access
I
to
know
camp.
before
Mhm.
I know before they changed it, um, there were two different set of rules.
Okay.
You had a set of rules in Basecamp, officers could approve whatever they wanted in Basecamp.
Mm.
And then there was Club Central, and Club Central, I think, was different. You had like certain officers that could do things. I mean, I'm glad that they changed their mind.
Yeah, that is true. Also, we don't need to submit to the Club Central right now. As soon
Yep.
as the member submit it, any club officer can approve. This is
Well,
a thing.
the other thing I like about this is that, and I want people to remember this. Sometimes, if you want to be, you're really good at meeting planning, you're really good at agendas, you're really good at motivating people.
Mhm.
So you think about being VPE. But oh my God, you hate the computer. And you want nothing to do with it. And so, sometimes you're like, even though it's your job, you're like, I wish I didn't have to do that. Well, with this, if you work together as a team, say that, you don't like having to deal with TI's website or whatever. You can ask the secretary to go in and approve things now. You can ask, whatever officer has time. Say if someone gets sick and they're out for like a few weeks to a month, you don't have to worry about changing them out in the system so that someone else can do it. Now you can say, hey, I know that you're the secretary or sergeant at arms. Could you help us approve things for now while they heal and come back? So it makes things a little easier. The other thing is like when you're VPE, it makes it a lot easier to not have to only rely on the president, who may just not be that invested in it. That happens, right? That happens. Sometimes the president's out or busy or doing things. Now you can ask anyone on the team to help you. The other thing I highly recommend is that if you have people who've been giving speeches and things like that, have them go in and put things in. Go in and check where they are and what they've put in and submitted. And if they haven't been putting things in, have them do it. It's a really easy way for your club to get levels. Um, I know that we had a club last year that had been giving speeches, working the program, blah, blah, blah. They've been doing things, but they forgot to go submit things in the TI system. They were just working through the things, getting it done and doing that. So they took a couple of days and went with all their members and put all their stuff in, and then they submitted like 50 levels. So yeah, it's really easy to forget to submit things. There was one club also that didn't know they had to approve it. They thought they thought a member could just submit it and it's done. So they had a bunch of approvals sitting in the system, and they just went in and approved them all, and they were able to be like distinguished overnight just because they had all them approvals sitting there. So yeah, it's really, really, really easy to like miss one or two things. But yeah, um, I'll touch base on one other thing because I know this is going to be a hot topic.
Angel, I can see Marty raise
Yep,
her hand.
I'm going to say one more thing and then I'll get to you, Marty. One moment. So I'm going to touch on the little hot topic of these new things they just added in. I forget what they're called. It's where you have to do this role and
The
you have to give this.
enhancements. The
Yes, yes,
enhancements.
that. So the enhancements. If your member has been doing these roles, or if you're like a member who's been here 8 years and done it back to back to back, fill it in. Do what you've done. Put in what you've done already. You've been there, you've done it. What this is intended for, newer members who necessarily are a little bit scared to get engaged. This is actually a way to help them get engaged step by step. So a lot of clubs were asking TI, how do I get a new member to do this role, or how do I encourage people to do it? Well, now it's part of their program. Take on table topics, which is only 2 minutes, and do something small. Give your first speech, do this role. Um, but it's also encouraging and putting in their mind that filling club roles isn't just for the dedicated few, it's for everyone to do. Um, and so it helps spread out who does what and how they do it. Um, If you struggle with giving the speeches part of it, let me and Manga know. We have a lot of district environments like learning labs where you can deliver those type of speeches. And so if you have a problem delivering the speech in your club, do that. If you're a VP or a president, or if you're just in a club, bring this back to your club. Partner with other clubs that meet similar times or meet different times. Partner with them and say, hey, you need speakers. We have people waiting to give speeches. We'll send you speakers. If you need any help or if you need us to take people, we will. And trade off like that. Encourage your members to go give speeches in other clubs if your club speech list is constantly getting filled. That'll help a lot with getting your members to be able to give their speeches without holding them back. So there's a lot, for instance, if you have 40 members in your club, there are clubs that have that many. They struggle giving speeches because every single meeting they have 3 or more people wanting to speak every single time. If your club's like that, there are clubs out there that have 8, 12 members that are struggling to get their roles filled and speeches done. Reach out to them, contact them, and say, hey, we have a lot of people wanting to give speeches, do roles. We will send people your way if you're willing. Get them in. Help those other clubs. That'll give those clubs functionaries and speeches and things like that. It'll help them grow, but it'll also help your members complete their projects and get things done. And that way, it's kind of mutually beneficial. Your members are getting what they need, and then that club is getting that support, and they're able to grow because they have fuller meetings, they have people there giving speeches, and it's a different environment now. Just some ideas. You don't have to do what I'm saying at all. It's up to you. But I know that if people go out and you're struggling to give a speech, there's a lot of clubs looking for people to do that. Okay, Marty, go ahead.
I wanted to offer comments on the topic of sharing the VPE role particularly, but generically having communication with your fellow officers. I have an arrangement in one of my clubs with the secretary who likes to talk to people that they are the individual that follows up on a monthly basis with everyone who has had a speaking role in our club meetings when we can't see that progress notated in pathways. The secretary, on my behalf, contacts the member and says, hey, I remember you gave such and such a talk on such and such a date, but we can't see the progress. Just to give them a little bit of encouragement. In exchange for doing that, I am the person at the meetings that record all of the table topic speakers and the responses that they make so that I can give that content to the secretary for their minutes. So we've made an exchange within the officer team. And when I do club officer trainings, no matter what role I'm training on, I encourage the officers to use each other as supports. That way, you don't have to worry about something not being approved when it goes out because Angel is correct. In the past, it did go out to certain officers via email notification, but anyone could have done it. But because you had no way to see what someone else had done, sometimes people would all be thinking someone else is taking care of it and then it doesn't get taken care of. So the system, the way that it is now, is certainly better than it was before, but you have some agency to divvy up your responsibilities as VPE. I also recommend doing that for the other roles. Figure out what you like to do in your assigned role. And if there's something you don't like to do, find someone who does like to do it. I also encourage VPEs especially to have an assistant VPE, and that person can be the individual that's reaching out to help people with their progress or to talk to them about entering their path completion and progress work, because we have many people who just don't like the interface. And if they're willing to share their login info with someone and you've got an assistant VPE, that person is motivated and it helps them to learn the job for when they are VPE. So there are ways for you to make it an advantageous situation instead of focusing on what can't happen. Look at what can happen and the opportunities contained in what can happen. I think that the revised Basecamp functionality is significantly improved on how it had been in the past, but I don't even mention how it had been in the past. I just focus on the way that it is now and what we can do to make sure that the information that's necessary for our club to get the credit for the actions that they're taking or that they're inspiring happens, because none of us want to find out on July 1st that some Basecamp recordation that ought to have occurred didn't happen because we were not aware or paying attention to it. Thanks for giving me the time, Angel.
Thank you, Marty. Yeah, you just remind me of like, and it's true because I tell people, especially for VPPR, I know this is way off of the Basecamp Pathways topic, but here you go. There are a lot of introverts in our organization. Believe it or not, for such a communication organization, we are drastically plagued by people not wanting to talk to anyone because they would much rather do the just sit at home and say get it done and then hope it gets done, right? Um, I've encouraged people recently, and especially when you step into leadership, Umanga's heard this many times. Figure out what you're good at. If you're good at strategic planning, if you're good at vision, if you're good at execution, things like that. Find out what you're good at and find out where or what drains you quickest. So I'm really good at running data, but oh my God, if I run data for too long, I want to sleep the rest of the day. So I find someone else to do that for me. Even though I'm good at it, if it drains too much of my energy, it's not going to make me as productive as I need to be. I give someone else who likes to do that and is not drained by it to do it, and it gives them a small piece in the project. Um, but whenever you can figure out like what your strengths are, what drains you, what motivates you, tailor that and find people who are opposite and get them on your team so that they can do those parts and then you're all not as drained. So that helps. But yeah, pathways. Oh, here's another thing, and because Marty said something that totally triggered this memory. If you have someone complaining about pathways all the time, please just be kind and tell them to be quiet. Um, and that's the nice way of me saying it. Honestly, at the end of the day, think about it this way, and I'm not saying this to be mean. We, as members who have been here longer, we may have certain things we want that aren't getting done. We may have certain complaints. We've seen the other things. But if you're a brand new member who's never been here, if all you're hearing about is how bad Pathways is, you aren't gonna want to be on it. You aren't gonna want to be around it. If you have guests come and you have someone giving a speech on how crappy Toastmasters' recent decision is, it's just gonna be the guest isn't gonna want to join. They're gonna have a tainted view. And I'm not saying that every club does this, but I have been in multiple clubs, just as a guest, where I've heard the president of the club give a speech about how bad Toastmasters was and how they they really need to take a look at themselves. And there were two guests on that call who did not join. So when I say that, it's even if you're not comfortable doing it, have someone in your club who is. Um, Correct that behavior quickly because that could be impacting your club as a whole. What it can do, there's two things it can do. It can cause guests and new members to not want to do anything or to leave. But the other side of this is that if it continues, other members in your club will start becoming more like that, and it becomes more of a problem, and it's harder to, kind of clean up. And, take the approach that works best with the person. Some people will listen to, hey, I don't think that's the best idea. We maybe want to avoid that. I know that we all have complaints, but let's take those up in private. That's a really nice way of saying it. Some people respond to that, and some people need to hear shut up or get out. Um, and, and then they'll get it, right? Like, so tailor it to the person, try the nice approach. If you have problems like that in your club and you're afraid to address it, reach out to people like Umanka or I. We can assist you with it. Trust me, you don't get to become district director and not have to deal with conflict. So, Um, healthy conflict helps a club grow. Unhealthy conflict can hinder you. So if you're not as confident in that area, or you're afraid to confront someone peacefully, of course, everything with peace and growth in mind. Let us know. We can help you. We can guide you. We can give you resources. We can also be beside you the whole way. That's what we're here for. And it's better to have your club have a positive environment where everyone understands. Nothing's the best. Trust me, when I work in tech, when I log onto the website, I hate how slow it is. I hate the fact that they don't use an AWS server that automatically upscales when user traffic goes on and adds more resources as needed to keep the website going quick. But that's not my problem, and I didn't make that decision, so I'm not gonna go bother every member with it. Um, but those types of things, we don't want to have that infect our clubs, and I have seen that a lot. I'm not saying our clubs have that problem, but if you do, or if someone you know does, send them our way. We can help them. Um, really, I'll give you something. Umanga, when after you come back from mid-year training, we'll talk about this as well. Because I know there will be updates on what's going on in the organization. Um, I have no idea when they're gonna do this. They said, you know, soon, which could mean a year or two or three. However, they will be adding some more paths in. They're gonna bring some of the old manuals into the new pathway system. That can encourage some of your long-term members to re-engage. And like I said, if you have people who like paper more than the computer, teach them how to print out their project or help them print it out. Um, and I'll show you this really quick because I think it's very important, as there are people who are tactile and like printed things. So like I'm one of those people that most of my stuff is digital. However, there are some things I will print out because I like having them in print. But for instance, if you're in the icebreaker area, I don't know if I've done this already, but yeah. If you're in the icebreaker. Oh, in this first screen on every level, there's this little checklist. This has to be done before they can submit anything. All it is a checklist. You go in, you check every box you've done, and then you save it and you're done. One thing I tell every member, and this is my suggestion, is not Toastmasters International's opinion, it is my opinion. If you are not very wordy and you don't want to worry about filling these boxes in every time, unless it's marked required, you can skip that. Okay? As long as you do the project, as long as you're working with your VPE, giving the speeches, doing your progress, you don't need to come in here and fill every little thing out. If that's not going to benefit you, move on from it. If it does help you, do it. Make pathway, and I've said this many times, make pathways work for you. Don't work for pathways. I will guarantee you that I don't fill in half of these boxes because I don't see them as useful for me. I do look over my project and I do look over what to do, and I do that, but I don't come in here and ask, what have I learned? I know what I learned. I've done this 11 other times. Why I need to do it again? You know? But one thing I will say that is very useful, if you go to this, if you go to, I think it's complete your assignment. Hold on, I'm trying to see. It might be, sorry. So like I said, I'm not an expert. I have to sometimes just look at it and see where the hell it is. Oh, right here. Okay, on the first part under each project, yay, they've put it on the first page. There's all of these little download buttons. Now, whenever I'm done being district director, because oh my God, I did not know how much time this takes sometimes, but it's fun every step of the way and I love it. I'm planning to download every single project from here and put it on like a web page and to where people can quickly go and access and download it. But for now, Um, every single project has this in the first page. If you want, if you want to print the project, it's right there. It'll give you a download. Um, it'll pull up and it will give you the paper version of the project. Okay? It has like every little thing in here. You don't have to worry about it. It's all in here. So if they like paper, click print. It's very easy. And if they have a printer at home, it's really quick and easy for them. So that's a great way to get people involved if they need to. But let me go to here. I'll show you one really useful box to fill out that I've done every time. And it's this right here, the speech details. If you're like me and you have 8 or 9 clubs and you're constantly giving speeches, even in the district environment or whatever, it's really easy to forget what speeches you've given and what you haven't done, and all of that. And sometimes you're tracking them in an Excel sheet, and that's a lot of fun. So you can actually come into here and you can type in your speech title, pick the date you gave your speech, what club you did. Now, here's one thing. If you speak outside of the club, put whatever club that you're going to give it to. So for instance, I told you earlier, if you're a club that has 40 members and there's a club with 10, and you're going to send speakers to them, your members are perfectly fine putting in whatever. Also, none of this is required. You can fill out the title and date and leave these blank and hit save. Okay? It'll just save anything you put in. But what I will say is if you have a speech coming up on like Saturday, Saturday and you have a club and you're just like putting in your stuff and you already know who your evaluator is, you can actually select them from here and send them your evaluation form and they can fill it out on Basecamp and send it to you on Basecamp. But either way, here's the useful part. If you hit save an email, this will email the evaluator your evaluation form and save the record of your speech or whatever, right? If it's after, I almost never email my evaluation form because they just tell me it live and then they send me a PDF. I'm fine. If you've done, speeches in the past and you want to put them in, hit save log. So what save log does is it takes all of your speech details and saves it in the system without emailing everyone. What that does, it keeps a record of your speech. I'll show you how to find that in a moment. Once you're done, it'll tell you before you move on, and you mark your project complete. See, so that's really useful. I find that saving your speeches helps a lot. Bruce, your question?
Yeah, on that save the speech details page that you were on, when you were talking about the different clubs and which to apply it to, what I find that works well is if you're giving it at a club that is not in your list of clubs that you belong to, in that box at the bottom where it says request description or something, I can't remember
Mm-hmm.
what the thing is. Just put the club name and the evaluator name in there and then click save log. So that helps.
Let me see. You can type it in?
Yeah.
I didn't even see. I'm learning things too. So,
Yeah, that thing down at the bottom, the
Yep,
request
oh,
description.
he's accurate.
so like if I gave it like
No, not well, that's not what I was talking about. I didn't know
I
that
know
you could do
I'm
that.
thinking
Oh,
I'm
okay.
thinking about if I can do this because I really want to know if I can. Because now I'm
W-
testing. Now I really want to know if I'm able to do it.
Yeah,
Uh,
where
That's
it
not what
says
I was referring
request
to though. At the bottom where it says
yeah, I
request.
see the
request
request
Yeah,
description.
description.
Yeah.
that's where
What I also want to know is if I'm able to save a log like this, if it's in a different club with a different evaluator, am I able to do that? Oh, it did it.
it
So
did.
okay,
Okay.
cool. Well, I'm gonna go check. I'm gonna go into my speech log and show you whether or not this worked. But if this worked, you can also just click in and type whatever club you wanted in, and whatever evaluator. That's new. I did not know that. So that's cool. See, like I said, I learn I learned things. Oh, look, it's right here. Okay, so it did not pull up the Clever Evaluator. So do what Bruce said, put it in the request description. But it does save your stuff in here, and obviously I will remove this later. Or I'll fill it in and update it later. But as you can see, like if you once you start using it, you can use it to save kind of speeches as you do them. And when I figured that out, I liked it a lot. So it helps a lot. I don't know. But yeah. Cool, Bruce. Yeah, that's good to know. It's pretty interesting. Cool. Oh, and by the way, if you don't know this, Distinguished Toastmaster, if you're working towards that, if you need someone to open up the DTM project, you email education program and just ask them to do it after you've completed one level and a level 3 or higher in another one. Not one level, one path, and a level 3 or higher in another path. And I and here's one other tip that's really great for pathways. If your members are at level 4 and they are stuck, like they don't know what to do, they're like, it's taking forever. There's two things you can do. Number one, if they're having trouble finding projects to work on, send them to the district level. If your district like doesn't really have anything they can work on, send them to me. I have a lot they can work on. Um, like I always have projects lined up for people. Trust me, there's something that can get them to do that. But if they're having trouble finding larger scale projects to do, which are normally required level 4, level 5, you can send them our way and we can find how to make that work for them and help them complete it. The second thing I will say is have them open up a second path. You can have more than one path in progress. It just costs $20 to open. I think it's still 20 to open up a new path. I don't. Well, no, because I asked TI this, and if
25.
they
It's 25 now.
so if they change that, I'm gonna send them an email because I have an email from districts saying that they weren't increasing the price of a path. They're only increasing the new member fee.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Yes.
Yeah. So if
Yeah.
they did change that, I will email them and tell them, why did you tell me this and did this? Trust me, I get everything in email. I learned that very early on. Um, but it should be 20. If it's 25, it's 25. But you open up a new path. You could pick any one you want. Have them start working through level 1 and 2 and 3 on those. They're gonna eventually have to do it anyway once they complete the path, but if they're at a point where they're stuck, have them open up that and do some of the easier projects. And here's another thing, because I've heard a lot of this. Why do I have to do an icebreaker again? Why do I have to do this again? Well, for one, you change. And if you're not changing, we need to talk because every human changes over time. You're never the same as you were yesterday, a year ago. Especially if you're making progress in Toastmasters, you're going to be different. The second thing I tell people is you only had 4 minutes to introduce yourself. Do you really think you could tell everyone there is to know about you in 4 minutes? Are you kidding me? So pick a different story. Become a little bit more vulnerable. You didn't know anyone the first time. Maybe reveal something a little deeper the next time. Encourage them to think differently. And what I've done now, mind you, I have completed all 11 pads in the last one, and I've redone quite a few of them. So when I'm telling you I have experience in redoing things, I have the experience, right? Um, what I've challenged myself to do, especially with icebreakers, is to try to get a little more vulnerable or a little deeper every time. I struggle with that. I'm autistic. I struggle showing emotion or talking about difficult things. So what I've done is every time I have to give an icebreaker, I will tell my club something a little bit different or deeper. I'll try to reveal more about myself. And that helped me to think about redoing the icebreaker in a different way. It was like instead of just redoing the same thing, I'm challenging myself to go a little deeper every time. Um, If there's people who complain about your communication style or your leadership style, guess what? You change over time in that area too. Um, Although sometimes you'll realize that you're just the same as you were when you first started, just a little bit more understanding and better. But your communication style may change. You may learn that you're actually able to understand other people on a different spectrum more. You may understand things differently. So challenging people to look at things differently or dive deeper is always a good way to have them repeat things. Marty?
I think that this also illuminates the flexibility of pathways because the way that I approach a path is at the outset, I decide what it is that I want to do. For example, working on my first DTM, I decided that the DTM was going to be my level 5 lessons learned target. So I then worked backwards from that. If I want to have a DTM by level 5, what needs to happen on level 4, level 3, level 2, and level 1 so that I can get to that? And then I started working the plan. That has been very successful for me. And I would encourage other people to approach their paths that way. And that means that instead of you waiting for the path to open up something and reveal it to you, you tell the path what it is that you want to get out of it. And then you use that tool to help you to work towards it. I recommend that people do that, and I recommend that you tell other people to do that because it keeps pathways a more dynamic and viable part of your learning experience. And because it's connected to something that you want to do, you don't see it as checking a box for your Toastmasters club or your Toastmasters journey. You see it as checking a box for yourself personally in achieving a goal that you've set for yourself. Thanks,
Yep.
Angel.
No, no problem. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna share two ways there's something else that I encourage people to do. If it's boring, um and I've heard that a lot. There are a lot of us who work in professional environments or corporate areas or things like that where like, oh my God, I have to do more of this. And you have other passions that are just like there. Reframe the path into what you're doing. So, I'm a member of Dungeons and Toast in our district. I play Dungeons and Dragons, and I've been interested in becoming like a game master and running games. So I took visionary communication, which is all about talking about how things look from a theoretical perspective, and I reframed it into what I was working on in my gaming environment, and that made it a lot more fun. If you're learning how to knit, or if you're learning how to do astrology, if you're learning psychology or anything, right? Any passion you have, you can figure out how to take the skills within a path and apply them to what you're working on to make it funner or more fun. That's a good way to defeat the boredom. Because when you've completed 11 paths, it can be a little bit repetitive at times. Marie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to share that just listening to the comments and discussion, that the importance of mentoring, because
Mm,
we're talking about, our experiences, and I'm talking about mentoring, not just necessarily new members, even advanced members, because I find that the members who oftentimes complain about pathways are members who they've been members for years, and it's fear and not wanting to deal with change. So mentoring is just so important that we provide that. And just like you said, you being creative. I mean, how many of us have done the level 2 where you talk about leadership and communication styles? But there's so many different ways to do that. So that's all. I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so Umaga and I will talk after this, and I'll probably do a session at the end of January or beginning of February on mentoring, because I think that's a good next step. So I've been asked by the a National Chamber of Commerce to give this presentation. 2 to 3 years in a row, I give a presentation on mentorship and why it's important. So, Manga, you and I will talk after this, and I will do that for Learning Labs, and tailor it to Toastmasters because I've talked about this before, maybe not in this environment. Um, Mentoring is very important for a couple of reasons. For the first part, 90% of people or more stay in Toastmasters not because of the program, but because of the people they've known. When you have people who've been here for 5 years, for 10 years, for 20 years, the number one response you get back, why have you stayed? Because of the people and the friends I have. That's most of what they say. Connection is very important. Having a sense of community is important, and mentoring can help that. But mentoring also helps your new members, like I said earlier, get through level 1 in 4 to 6 months. But the key to mentoring is learning which type of mentoring you need. I am very direct and pushy as a mentor. I know this. I know this about myself. Some of you who've witnessed me and Lena like to joke and talk about it. But when Lena asked me to mentor her, I made her do a level 1 with and two. Oh no, I made her give her icebreaker like 2 to 3 weeks after joining. I just looked at her and I said, "Get it done," and she did it. Um, Sometimes people need the nudge. Sometimes people need that push. And sometimes they need a little bit more gentle. Sometimes people need more hand holding. Some people don't. So figuring out what the number one key to mentoring is figuring out what people need. Well, not what they want, because sometimes your want and your needs are not matched. You have to be adept at hearing someone say, "Well, I don't really need to be pushed that much," and realizing that they aren't gonna get anything done unless they have someone like Angel pushing them. But the second thing is you definitely want people who they don't have to be friends, but they have to respect each other. Respect is very important. Trust and respect. You have to be able to trust the person you're working with, and you have to respect them, because if you don't respect them, you won't do anything they say. So, the number one thing I tell people, give it like 2 weeks after a person has either joined your club, or you can ask them as they're coming in, do a new member profile on everyone and get a current member profile on everyone. Why did you join? Was there anyone that you were drawn to? That's a great question for mentorship, because I'm going to tell you right now, it was, 4 years ago. I went and visited a club in District 100. Mind you, I joined in India, came to Arizona, joined some different clubs here. I visited a club because I seen someone running for international director and was like, "Ooh, she's interesting. I want I want to go check her out a little." Um, when I went to her club, I joined the club immediately after hearing her speak. And Karen Lucas, by the way, and she knows this, I've told her this. I totally halfway stalked her for a moment before I joined her club. Um, but sometimes people will join your club because they connect with someone. And that's a great way to pair mentoring, especially at first. So like when I met Karen and joined her club, I knew that I liked her and I knew she was very inspiring. But then I heard her talk about other things, and I was like, I think it was I'm very direct, by the way, if you know me. I looked at her in a meeting because I think we were at Speakers Bureau, and they asked, "Well, who do you want to mentor you?" And I said, "Her. I don't want anyone else but her." So sometimes your members, as they're joining or later on, can tell you who inspires them within your club. They can tell you who they're drawn to. And if they can do that, you're better able to pair people together. And don't think of mentoring as a one-way street. I highly encourage people to mentor each other, especially if they're kind of in similar places or levels. Um, Mentorship can go both ways. So Umanga and I, there are certain things Umanga helps me with. Like I am not very good at knowing when I offend people. Like I said, the autism, right? Like I don't know when I'm saying something offensive sometimes. I don't know if I'm crossing a line sometimes. But Umanga's gotten to a point where she'll recognize it and tell me, like she'll text me and tell me. And that helps me to grow because then I can start recognizing it. And then, of course, I have like a lot of Toastmasters knowledge and I can help her in the Toastmasters stuff. So mentoring can go both ways. Sometimes it's all about motivation. Charlotte, for instance, is really motivational. And so, like, someone may motivate Charlotte too. And maybe them two pair up and just motivate each other to get things done. That's a mentorship. Each of you just venting to each other, motivating each other. Because trust me, and I'll wrap up with it, life can get you down. Like I said earlier, Toastmasters can make decisions that aren't necessarily what you agree with. You might not like something, but if you have a person or one or two people that you can trust, you respect, that you can vent to, that'll sit there and tell you, that'll motivate you, that can tell you when you're not doing something that you wanted, that helps a lot, especially when it can go both ways. And I say this coming from perspective of, like I said, I told Karen, like, I was like, I want you to mentor me. And then she told me later on that I expanded her understanding of mentorship because let me tell you, I am extremely stubborn. Um, and I don't always listen right away. And that is one of my downsides. I'll admit it. But it can help both people. And I think that's sometimes the best relationships. Lifelong friends. So if you have any other questions about pathways, or if any of your members need help, or if you need, like, if you're in a club with a lot of new members and maybe you're not as adept at explaining pathways to them, reach out. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Amanga. Let me put her. Amanga, I don't memorize your personal email, but I'll put your PQD one in the chat. Because Umanga and I both have like
This
3 or 4
will.
different emails. So, so yeah, email one of us. And I say email because if you email us, normally me and Manga are very similar in this. We'll put it on our calendar and we'll get you scheduled quicker. Or we can help you find someone to come into your club and teach people pathways. So we'll do that. Even if you're even if you're like, hey, Angel, I'm not in your district, but we need help. Um, I'll come help you. I don't mind. I have love for everyone, not just my own district. So yeah, I mean, sorry, talked a lot about a lot of different things, but pathways is very it is how do I word? I'm gonna word this the best I can. Pathways is what you make it. It could be your downfall or it could be your saving grace. It can be fun or it can be dry and boring. It can be very restrictive or it can be free and flowing. It's kind of whatever you want to make it. Alrighty. Umanga,
Thank you. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much, Angel. It is very valuable presentation and we really appreciate all your insights and what you have talking about and also your knowledge about Toastmasters. And thank you so much again being a speaker in our the first one in this 2026 New Year Learning Lab. And we look forward to hearing from you more in the future, as you said that. Thanks again. Thanks everyone joining today with our Learning Lab session. And I really appreciate if you like to look at these recordings. I like to give me a second. I like to add it into the, okay, here. These are the recordings in Toastmasters in the YouTube Learning Labs. You can access these things. These are previous Learning Lab sessions. Also, we do have several in coming months, and we do have learning labs in fourth Sunday as well as first Sunday and fourth Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Please join with us, and thanks again. Have a good rest of your day. Bye bye.
Bye, Toasties.